What's up, YouTube versus Donnie, and welcome to another edition of Donnie's Den. I hope you're having a great weekend. I'm enjoying mine, and I hope you are as well. And still hot here in South Carolina, but you know what? I enjoy the heat. Not so crazy about the humidity, but however, enjoying the warm weather just the same. But in today's edition of Donnie's Den, I just wanted to touch upon a topic that I've been thinking about a lot here lately, and that is why are senior citizens, the elderly, still working in the workplace? I don't understand that. I mean, I know why that they still are, but still I don't understand why they have to still, be in the workplace. Um, in my workplace, in fact, there's some seniors that are still working. And they're barely walking, they're barely moving, they're barely getting by. God bless their hearts, but they're still doing it. They're still putting in the work, and they're still making it happen as best as they know how to. And that just again, that just makes no sense why they have to, still be working at that age. In fact, I know of a workplace I've been to, used to work at years ago, a company. And there was this lady that had retired from the company for being there for so many years and years. And she ended up retiring. And only just to come back like maybe, 3-4 months later. And when she came back, I asked her, I said, well, I thought you retired. Why'd you come back? And she said, well, I'm semi, I came back because I'm going to be semi-retired now. Still fully retired, and the reason why for that is because I need the money in order to be able to afford my medicine. And I thought, oh wow, that's just crazy. She's been there for 30, 40 plus years. Put in the time, put in the work, the effort. To retire. She earned it. She deserves it. Only to have to come back 3-4 months later, even if it's just a part-time basis, still the fact that she had to come back to make a little bit of money in order to be able to, afford and pay for her medicine, her prescriptions. And it's the same, again, it's the same situation with the elderly people that I'm working with currently now. Again, a lot of them in their 70s, and this one guy, he's in his 80s. And you're thinking, oh my God, why are you still here? Why are you still working? And again, I know why, and it's a shame that they have to come back to work because they can't afford to fully retire. They the economy now, everything is so high that they need that extra boost, of money to be able to make their ends meet. And even then, it's still hard for them to do that. Whether it's just, be able to pay for their prescriptions, or choose between having something to eat or paying for their medications, or choosing to have, pay their electricity or their rent, to have a roof over your head and lights on, and as opposed to trying to get something to eat or not, paying for your medication or whatnot. And it's just they can't afford the basic human, needs, the basic, human essentials, and that's not right. That is not right. They put in their time. They paid their dues, over the years. The system has taken out money for their Social Security, and at the time when they took out money for the Social Security, the value of what they took out then, hopefully was still, the value of what the dollar was then. Now, the value of a dollar is less than. So really, what they're getting is really going nowhere. And they feel that they have to come back to work just to make ends meet, to make extra money. And that's just, that's not right. My grandfather, he retired in, 1971, from Conrail, which is now known as Railroad Express. And he worked there for like 40 plus years, and he ended up getting Social Security, full Social Security, full retirement benefits, Medicaid, I'm sorry, Medicare, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, um, Social Security, his pension. So, he did okay for himself, and he didn't have to go back, to the workforce. He was able to stay retired. But that's not so much, in this day and age. Again, that was back in 1971, and things has changed a whole lot different, in 25, and that's just a shame. Really is that people are at that age are forced. They are forced to have to go back to work in order to afford their basic essentials. You know, um, you know, they're just, I myself, I was planning on retiring, at the earliest age when I was, eligible to retire. And so, I did the math. I looked at the numbers. I went on the Social Security, website and on the calculator to see how much I would get each year, for retirement. And at the earliest retirement that I would be eligible to take, um, that's not going to cut it. It's not going to do it whatsoever. So therefore, I'm going to have to be forced to even put in even more years. After working so many years, I'm going to have to put in even more years and able to reach the full retirement benefits of Social Security. And even then, when I do reach that maximum, amount, it's still not going to be enough to make ends meet. And that's actually today, in 2025. So I'm 60 now. So when I retire at 67, um, what's the economy going to look like then? What's food going to look like? The prices and the medicine, the prescriptions, the doctor bills, the utilities, the rents, the mortgages, insurance, on and on and on. What's that going to look like in 7 years? So what I'll be getting, what I'm seeing, what it's saying that I'll be getting when I'm 67, looking into it today in 2025, it's going to be, the value of it's going to be even less than, in 7 years, and then of course, they're trying to, change the retirement age to what, from 67 to what? What's next? What, 72, 75, 80? I mean, when's it all going to end? What do you want people to do? Just work and work and work and work and work and work themselves to death? Do they drop dead on the, on the shop floor? I mean, when's it enough? Seniors have to be forced to go back, to the rat race, to the workforce. And they shouldn't have to do that. They should be able to enjoy the quality of their life for the rest of their life while they're still here on this earth. Should be able to enjoy their golden years. But the golden years is now being tarnished, and they have to be forced to go back to the workforce, just to make extra money and still to barely make the ends meet, to pay their mortgage or their utilities or their prescriptions or whatnot, whether to eat or to choose to take some medicine, and they can't even afford their main medicine that they need to be taken, because it's too high. They gotta choose to take the medicine that they can afford, and if they do take their main medicine, well, then they ain't gonna be able, to eat, because the main medicine is so high, or pay their bills, or have lights, in their house, and it's not right. It's not right. The elderlies, the seniors, they put in their work, they put in their time over the years to take care of their families, as they should, and they did. And now they can't even enjoy, the fruits of their labor. Now they have to go back, forced to go back. And when they do go back, again, barely making ends meet to make that little bit extra money to try to make things meet. It's just, it's crazy. It's not right, and it's not fair. And shame on our country, really, Shame on a country that treats their senior citizens or elderly like that, you know. And of course, corporate America, well, the seniors will go back, to work, what, maybe 3, 4 more years if they're lucky, if they got it in them, part time. Then in corporate America, they're like, well, you know what, they're getting really, really old, and so they're becoming a liability. So we're really going to have to cut them loose this time, for good. So what do they tell the seniors? Well, hey, thanks again for your service. Thumbs up, See ya. They're out the door, and then here comes in someone else, fresh and new, just to go through the same process when they get older. And it'll be even a worse situation for them when they get older, because things are just going to progressively just go downhill. Everything's just going to progressively, decline. It's like, you're in the butcher shop, and okay, you'll call this number, so and so this number next, and you got a new person coming in. And then when something happens years later, next, it's just a vicious cycle, and it's not right. It is not right. You know, um, so, just if you know any seniors that's still working, any elderly, just look out for them. Just go over there and just see them, just visit them, see how their mental state is doing, see how their physical state is doing. If anything you can do to help them, please do so. You know, even if it's just being there a half hour and just giving them some company, just let them know that somebody does care and that you do support them. Even something a little like that, can go, a little act of kindness can just really go a long, long way. So I just, it worries me. I see it every day, and it's just progressively getting worse, not any better. So it's not right, and it's not fair, and we all just got to look out for one another and just support one another and just do the best we can, because at the end of the day, it ain't gonna be the poor class, the middle class, and the high class. They're getting rid of the middle class. It's just gonna end up being the poor class or the rich class. Either the haves or the have-nots. And that's what it's boiling down to, really. If you really do the math and really look hard at the economics and the structure of what it's trying to become now, what it's working towards, you will see that and you will understand that. So, it's a sad situation, and I'm very concerned with it. With the present and with the future of everyone. It's, I don't know. I just don't know. All we can do is just try to do the best we can and just look out for one another. Help support one another, because at the end of the day, that's all we really have. Is support. And just someone, just to know that somebody cares. So just let somebody know that you do care and that you do support them, and try to support them as best ways you know how to, because it's rough out here for them. It's rough out here for us, so you can imagine what it is for the elderly. And just try to look out for one another. I don't know, I just hope things get better at the end of the day. I really do. But I don't know, the way things are going and progressing now, it doesn't look very positive whatsoever. So, but anyway, with that being said, if you would like to support this platform, then I ask that you please push the like button. I'm trying to get 1,000 subscribers, so push the like button, the share button. Please subscribe to the channel, and if you feel that you'd like to donate to the platform, whether buy me a beer or a cigar or a cup of coffee, or just support the content, that you appreciate the content that you're hearing. I really appreciate that. I really would, and together we can all make this happen. And So with that being said, please enjoy the rest of your weekend, and just look out for one another. Just do the best we can for one another, because at the end of the day, it's really all we have. It's really all we've got. So this is Donnie from Donnie's Den. Always keep it real. Always keep it 100. Peace.